When we talk about space, we are often fixated with human achievements and celebrate the lack of loss of life beyond our Earth's atmosphere. In fact, any casualties have in fact been suffered closer to Earth than in the vastness of orbit and beyond. However, what gets forgotten are the animals who have been sent up to test the functionality of rockets before us humans get an opportunity to boldly go where no human had gone before. Like in several other industries, animals act as test subjects to preserve potential human suffering. However, that means animals are exposed to the massive dangers that space presents. This is the sad truth behind animals sent into space. Welcome to Space Aspect, a channel that looks at all things space. If you're enjoying this video, please give us a like, and if you want to be the first to see videos just like this one, remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell. Now, back to animals sent up to space. When we talk about animals sent into space, we often think about dogs and monkeys, and we'll get to those later. But the first animals that NASA sent into orbit were fruit flies. These were used as the first test of radiation on living tissue at altitude. Amazingly, the flies returned to Earth alive, thanks to a successful ejecting parachute, but success stories like these weren't going to continue. In the 1940s, NASA began sending monkeys into space, the first of which was named Albert. Albert only made it as far as 63 kilometers above the ground in his V-2 rocket before he died of suffocation. A year later, another Albert was launched. He made space heights, survived the launch and the journey, but his parachute failed to deploy on re-entry, and he sadly perished as his vessel hit the ground. The next two Alberts didn't make it back to Earth alive as they died during the flights, and Albert 4 suffered the same fate as the first monkey in space when his parachute also failed to open on landing. A change of name followed the next monkey, but unfortunately he suffered the same fate. Yorick the space cadet successfully managed to reach heights of 72 kilometers, but was effectively boiled alive in his metal capsule as it suffered the harsh New Mexico sun. Fates of future monkeys in space became more positive, and once NASA had upgraded to chimps, their success rate of bringing primates back alive increased. Meanwhile, in parallel, the Soviet Union chose to use dogs to send into space. They felt that dogs could endure long periods of inactivity better than other animals. Plus, they were easier to pick up from the streets of Moscow. Enter Laika, a 3-year-old dog that would become the space poster animal for decades to come. Her spacecraft was only given a month to build following the success of the Sputnik 1 satellite. After an intensive and harsh training program, which involved the dog being chained to restrict movement, she was launched into space in a mission with no intention to bring her back home. Her heart rate spiked on launch and didn't return back down as planned. Her new resting heart rate on board the spacecraft was over 100 beats per minute, so she was under considerable stress. Thermal insulation also came loose on transit, so the capsule was reaching temperatures of over 40 degrees centigrade. 5 hours into the flight, there were no signs of life, and the stress and heat had taken its toll. The Soviet media reported otherwise, and claimed she was alive for days, before drugs that had been placed in her food intentionally took her life painlessly before re-entry. After orbiting the Sun over 2,500 times, Laika's remains re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, disintegrating in the process. These stories, amongst others, are harsh reminders that animal testing often gives fatal results in order to pave the way for humans to achieve incredible feats. A lot has changed since the 50s and 60s, in decades that saw a majority of animals launched into space. But even at the time, there were protests outside the United Nations against the way that Laika was treated. Depending on your point of view, these missions can either be considered successful or catastrophic failures. Without them, there would almost certainly be no human spaceflight or significant human casualties, but many animals had to suffer in the process. What do you think about animal space testing? Do you think it was necessary, or could there have been more to protect these creatures? Let us know in the comments, and please like this video if you've enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos out of this world, then please subscribe to the Space Aspect. Thanks for watching.